Gary Antoine Russell didn't pull any punches when he gave his take on Devin Haney's latest performance against Jose Ramirez. After watching Haney go the distance on the May 2nd card at Times Square in New York City, Russell was quick to call it like he saw it. And let's just say, he didn't see much. In his words, Haney is washed up, trash, and mentally broke ever since Ryan Garcia handed him that devastating loss in April last year. Russell didn't sugarcoat anything, and he sounded like a man who's seen enough. The WBA light welterweight champion wasn't just talking smack, he was laying down what he believes is the cold, hard truth. For him, the damage isn't just physical, it's psychological. That loss to Garcia wasn't just a blip on Haney's radar. It was, according to Russell, a complete mental breakdown. Russell didn't bother to speculate on whether Haney can bounce back or rebuild. In fact, the way he talked about him, it felt like he's already written Haney off, completely. There was no hint of optimism, no, maybe he'll come back stronger, just pure dismissal. He sounded like someone who believes Haney's best days are not only behind him, they're long gone. Russell seemed convinced that Garcia didn't just win a fight that night, he stole something from Haney that can't be recovered. Confidence, identity, belief. And without those things, what kind of fighter are you really? When Russell spoke to Mill City Boxing, his tone was raw, direct, and absolutely unfiltered. Trash! Devin Haney is broke now. Ryan Garcia done broke that boy, he said, holding nothing back. Ryan Garcia put him down, hurt him, and did all this and put a beating on him. Now he doesn't even fight the same. It wasn't just a technical critique, it was personal. Russell made it sound like Haney isn't even the same man anymore, let alone the same fighter. From his eyes, to his body language, to the way he moved around the ring, Russell saw fear, hesitation, and a lack of heart. It wasn't the Devin Haney who once carried himself like one of the sport's young lions. It was someone else entirely. And honestly, when you watched Haney fight Ramirez, it was hard to ignore the nerves. From the opening bell to the final round, Haney looked tense. It wasn't just a case of him trying to play it safe, preserving himself for a big money rematch with Garcia. No, this went deeper. Haney looked like a man who didn't want to be in that ring. There wasn't the same snap in his punches, the same crisp confidence in his footwork. Fans and analysts alike picked up on it. Some chalked it up to strategy, others to trauma. And then there's Tim Bradley, who went a step further and suggested Haney might be dealing with something as serious as PTSD, a condition that often affects soldiers who've lived through war. That's not a comparison you throw around lightly, but Bradley believed Haney's body language in the ring showed signs of someone who's still carrying the mental scars of that Garcia beating. For someone who once boasted about being undisputed, Haney didn't fight like a man who was in control. He looked more like someone constantly second-guessing himself. His performance against Ramirez was cautious to the point of paralysis. He threw 224 punches total, landing 70. But if you watched closely, you'd see that many of those were jabs, or light body shots. Russell even called that out, mocking the lack of power and commitment behind Haney's hooks. Any hard shots he threw, it was probably a jab to the body, Russell said. He only threw a couple of hooks, and his hooks wasn't hard. Were they clean? Okay, I give you that, but they wasn't even no effective punches. That's not the kind of breakdown you give a top-tier fighter. That's how you describe someone who's phoning it in, or worse, terrified of what's coming. Back at them. Watching Haney against Ramirez, it really did feel like he didn't trust his own chin anymore. Every time Ramirez stepped forward, Haney reacted like he was about to get caught with a shot he couldn't take. And that's the scary part. Ramirez isn't even known for knockout power. He's not some terrifying puncher who puts guys to sleep with one swing. He's got decent pop, sure, but nothing close to the danger level Haney seemed to assign to him. So why the caution? Why the fear? Some fans genuinely believe that Haney was reliving the trauma from the Garcia fight right there in the middle of the ring. Like his brain was flashing back to the night everything fell apart. If that's true, then it makes sense why he couldn't let his hands go. It wasn't about strategy, it was about survival. Russell didn't hold back when asked about Haney's future either. He wasn't just talking about the fight. He was talking about what's left of Haney's career, his identity, his legacy. It wasn't like no effective shots that he fully committed to. It was scared shots, Russell said. You could see in him that his heart isn't all the way there. Hopefully it'll hold him over until his next fight because I don't know who the hell he's got for his next fight. I just know he is personally trash. He's washed up. That's not just criticism. That's a fighter completely writing off one of his peers as damaged goods. Russell didn't say, Haney needs time. He didn't say, Haney will come back stronger. He said it's over, period. It's not the first time someone has taken shots at Haney's style or mental toughness, but Russell made it clear he never rated him that highly to begin with. I never thought he was good anyway, he continued. I just thought he was a good listener, and he tried to imitate Floyd Mayweather to the best of his ability. But trash. That stings even more when you think about how Haney built much of his brand off comparisons to Mayweather. Crafty, defense, slick counters, supreme ring IQ. But in Russell's eyes, Haney is nothing more than a copycat without the substance. Someone who watched the blueprint but couldn't recreate the greatness. That's a brutal take, but one that's hard to ignore if you've seen Haney's recent body of work. Of course, there are still Haney loyalists who'll say he was simply being tactical, conserving energy, and avoiding unnecessary risks, but even they can't deny the drop in confidence. The spark just wasn't there. Haney didn't look like someone who wanted to dominate. He looked like someone trying to get through the night without falling apart. And when you've got someone like Gary Antoine Russell watching from the sidelines, you better believe he's going to call you out on it. For Russell, boxing is a war of heart, skill, and will. And if you don't bring all three, you're already beat. He saw none of that in Haney that night. The road ahead for Devin Haney is uncertain. He might get that rematch with Ryan Garcia. He might even pull off a win. But if he fights with the same hesitation, the same fear, the same lack of conviction, he's not just risking another loss. He's risking everything. His reputation, his future, and whatever legacy he hoped to build. Fighters can lose and come back. That's part of the game. But when you lose your identity, your confidence, your soul in the ring, that's a much harder thing to recover. And right now, Gary Antoine Russell doesn't see anything left to salvage. Haney's next move will be critical. He needs to show the world, and more importantly himself, that the version of him we saw against Ramirez isn't the new normal. Because if it is, the sharks in the division will smell blood and they won't hesitate. Everyone wants a piece of the once undisputed champion now. He's vulnerable, wounded, and under the microscope. Whether he rises from this or becomes another cautionary tale is entirely up to him. But one thing's for sure, fighters like Russell will be watching every step he takes, ready to pounce the moment he slips again. In boxing, you're only as good as your last fight. And right now, Devin Haney's last fight raised more questions than it answered. And what makes this all even more heartbreaking is the speed at which it's happening. Just a year ago, Devin Haney was riding high. He was undefeated, young, and considered by many to be the future of the lightweight and junior welterweight divisions. He had just beaten Vasily Lomachenko in a fight that, regardless of how you scored it, solidified him as a top-tier technician. He was polished, confident, and carried himself with a calm assurance that screamed next generation. But that aura is gone now, stripped away in one brutal night against Ryan Garcia and further eroded with every cautious step he took against Ramirez. The sharpness is dulled, the confidence looks like a mask, and fans are starting to wonder if we've already seen the best version of Haney, before he ever even reached his prime. The tragic irony in all of this is that Haney was once known for his mental toughness. While his fights weren't always explosive, he had a reputation for discipline, composure, and supreme focus. He didn't beat you with raw power. He outthought you. He broke you down round by round, making adjustments on the fly and neutralizing whatever threat you brought to the ring. But against Ramirez, there was none of that signature control. Instead, we saw hesitation at every turn. He looked like a man running from ghosts, unsure, unwilling, and at times almost uninterested. It was as if he was going through the motions without the fire that once made him special. For a fighter built on mental clarity, that kind of doubt can be devastating. And Gary Antoine Russell, whether people like it or not, voiced what many in the boxing world are quietly thinking.